What were the dumbest lies you believed when you were a kid? That the hazard button in a car would blow the car up. Holy yes, I'm not the only one. It's such a scary symbol for a kid. Only to find out it just makes the lights blink lol. My mom told me this, so I just pressed the button to spite her. I'm sorry, honey. You need to do homework tonight instead of going to Joey's sleepover. Oh yeah. Blows up car doesn't blow up. No. She told me the panic button was a bomb. Let's just say that I was a destructive kid who still isn't a huge fan of her mom. That our entire house was covered by cork-sized security cameras, and that my parents could see my every move. My kid has convinced herself of the same thing and always randomly asks, what am I doing right now? From across the house, my mom convinced us she had eyes in the back of her head. She could tell us what we were doing in the living room while working in the kitchen facing away from us. We'd test it even further by doing the how many fingers am I holding up test, and she'd get it right every time. So all little kid evidence concluded that mom did in fact have eyes in the back of her head. It wasn't until I was much older that I randomly noticed the crystal clear reflection in the kitchen window my mom could always see. My father was a fish taxidermist and had a bunch of glass eyes for them. He told us he had eyes in the back of his head and lifted his hair to show us. Also, I ate a dog biscuit one time, one of those that humans can eat too, and he drew a red dot right on my butt when I was sleeping and told me I was going to turn into a dog. Traumatized me for 8 years. In case you still get the cravings. By law, all pet food/treats have to be safe for human consumption in the event of a child or elderly person, or I guess anyone else, eating them whether accidentally or otherwise. In the US anyways. Can't vouch for other countries. That women's periods stop in water to avoid sharks smelling it. Feo what? It's an evolutionary adaptation. The female body has ways to shut that whole thing down. If it's a legitimate shark attack, that is. I could not understand how all the death scenes in war movies seemed so realistic. So, I asked one of my older brothers how they did it. He proceeded to tell me that they empty out state prisons in the area the movie is being made, dress them up, and give them guns, and tell them that if they survive the filming then they get to leave jail after. I was told that at around 7, and I believed it till I was around 10. Lol. When I asked, my dad just told me that they were paid. He meant that they were just actors, and it wasn't real. My 4-year-old self just thought that they were stupid, since no one would have to pay them once they were dead anyway. Same. Damn. You know Sharon's dad. Sweet. Everyone knows Sharon's dad. Lost my stuffed animal, a white dog, in the airport in Miami when I was 5. It was my favorite, and I was really sad about it. A few weeks later my mom presented me with a brown dog that otherwise looked exactly like the white one I'd lost. She said the workers at the airport had found it and mailed it to us, but he got a tan because he was in Florida. Bought it hook, line and sinker for a few years. Tan dog is now my son's, and he's a big fan. Our neighbor's son has autism, and he had a stuffed alligator that was pink and yellow. He carried it with him everywhere. For years. It would get torn, and they'd repair it. Eventually, the fabric was so thin it just fell apart. They hid it from him and told him that gator had grown up and gone to live with the other gators. He was so inconsolable. They eventually found a slightly larger alligator that was green and gave it to him. They told him that gator had been living in the sewers with his friends, and it turned him green. He finally outgrew the second gator a couple of years later. I left Cookie Monster at a car dealership when I was 4. My dad drove back, and they'd strapped him into the car on the rotary in the showroom. A year later I was fairly reliable about not losing things, and was given another who looked identical who was on deck from a year before. Will be 35 years in a month or 2. Still have them both. That's fed up, man. Your dad was just trying to get your toy back, and they strapped him in a rotating car. The button on your armrest on airplanes is the eject button. I found out it reclines your seat embarrassingly late. So you decided to say F it and nope out of the plane. Then got pissed when you leaned back 2 degrees instead. As a kid I had a strangulated hernia, which left me with 1 testicle. My dad told me if I ever had kids they would be all boys or all girls cause each testicle is for each sex. Believed it for years. I'm wondering if your dad actually believes that. My dad won't drink water because he says it rusts your stomach. So, I used to joke that I didn't want to work out because I only had a certain amount of heartbeats and didn't want to use them all up working out. It was funny till I found out people believe this. Some even make it to the upper echelons of politics. If you swallowed the black watermelon seeds, a watermelon would grow in your belly. Yeah. That Rugrats episode didn't help much with not believing that lie either. Great ep though. My sister told me that if you count all the stones of Stonehenge you will die. I still don't know how many stones there are in Stonehenge. Edit. I just called and told this to my sister, and she just laughed for about 2 minutes. I'll count them for you. There are. He dead. Are you sure he isn't just stoned? Maybe he just got rocked to sleep. That the draining sound of the water in the bathtub was a monster that would suck you in as well. A lie made to get me out of the bath. I stuck my finger down the plug hole thinking the swelling vortex it made would spin me around like some miniature tornado. Yeah. The fireman who cut me out of the bath didn't laugh either. Okay. But, did you spin? I did. Not. Got a lovely scar for my troubles though. So win-win I guess. And now you can always tell your right hand from your left. This isn't a lie, but when I was a kid I had no idea how turn signals worked and just thought the cars always knew exactly where we were going. I didn't realize they turned off automatically when the steering wheel is turned back straight. I just thought all adults had to be really coordinated to disengage them while executing the turn. This made me really nervous about learning to drive. OMG yes. I remember trying to catch my dad turning it off, but I never did, so I bragged to friends that my dad is really fast etc until a friend's brother told me the truth. That's a funny thing to brag about. I was in on this lie between my mom and younger sister. My sister was about 5 years old at the time, and my mom convinced her that Benadryl was truth serum. My mom would threaten to give it to my sister if she knew she was lying. It was so hilarious. But my sister seriously believed it and would get upset. I was told your ears turn red when you lie hard to get away with stuff when look like the hear no evil monkey. My mom used to sing some kind of rhyme like this little finger makes you laugh while wiggling her index finger in front of me. The idea was that if I laughed it was because I was lying and she would treat it as a 100% scientific proof, even though it made me laugh hysterically every single time. Also it was an angry laugh because I hated so much that it made me laugh even though I was telling the truth about 90% of the time. My older brother pranked me once. I had watched a kids TV show, I think it was The Electric Company, that featured a guest star who was a tap dancer. My brother convinced me that tap dancers made their tapping sounds, not with their feet, but with their mouths. I spent the next several weeks trying to tap dance with my mouth noises before my mom made me quit. I'm surprised she lasted that long tbh. My 5-year-old son is currently on a death metal voice kick, while I generally like metal, and it's kind of adorable. I'm going to get sick of him screaming at the top of his lungs really quick. You can only be yelled at Cheerios and milk please so many times. I now want to see an episode of Death Metal Sesame Street. Hell yeah. My grandmother told me that pinching gave cancer. I got pinched once at recess and yelled at the person because I thought they were going to give me cancer. Pinch. No pinching. When I was a kid I asked my dad if reading enough books really could give you telekinesis. Matilda. He said yes. I spent many years after that thinking I just wasn't doing enough. A good way to get your kids to read I guess. My mom used to tell me birds have wings and can fly because they eat a lot of fruits and veggies. I wanted to fly. Instead just ended up with healthy eating habits. She Pavloved me real good. I tell my girls, if they want to be fairies they have to get good grades and go to fairy college, and the tooth fairy job is a postgraduate degree that requires even more school. I once thought academic scholarships were only given to dumb students so that some of them could still attend college. I even told my older brother that he was so stupid he had to get scholarships to go to college. He went to the Ivy League. Man, I'm worried for whoever told you that. I grew up in upper middle class suburbia, and let me tell you, this is not an uncommon one. That and community college. The rich kids thought that community college was for stupid people. Huh. I never heard the scholarship one. The community college for sure, but scholarships were always for the smart and or high achieving kids. Never dumb. Different suburbia, I guess, lol.